Why did you buy this Grand Seiko?
I don't know. I've always wanted to at least try the 9F. And then I got it and I realized it's a shitter.
Ooh. Hi guys, I'm Patrick.
I'm Adam.
And this is Clock,
Stock,
and Barrel. Today we discuss...
a shitter.
No, a very... I like the watch. A very special quartz-based watch from Seiko. It's the Grand Seiko SBGX059. Perfect. So guys, this is like many of their dress watches. It has baton markers, those beautiful dolphin hands, and a similar case design to most of their dress lineup now, except this is using the NF quartz movement. So this is a relatively modern movement that they brought into the game. And
yeah, guys, so first off, we'll kind of talk about the 9F quartz caliber. And then we'll kind of talk about our impressions and our thoughts on a quartz that retails for $2,000.
Yeah.
And we'll kind of go on to
a little over that, brand new, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, some of these quartz Grand Seikos go for like $3 brand new.
Yeah, so
3+, right? You know, for the quartz.
We're gonna give the Grand Seiko a fighting chance here. I love Seiko and I love Grand Seiko, so don't get me wrong. But a lot of people don't know about their quartz-based movements, and what people don't know is that overseas in Japan, quartz-based Grand Seikos sell more than their automatics do.
Really?
And there's a reason. They're very, very reliable. Seiko's been in the quartz game for a very long time. So of course, guys, we're going to go off the specs of this watch for you, and then of course talk about that NF quartz movement. And I'm actually interested in getting one myself, but so this is a full-on review from Adam's perspective, and this is just a first impression for me. I have my own Grand Seiko. It's an automatic, so you can kind of tell the choice I made already. But that's only because I got it for as good a deal as I would have for a quartz one, so...
Yeah.
Here we are.
And that's the only reason I own one too.
Yeah.
Alright guys, so this is the SBGX059. Obviously it's the caliber 9F62, the most recent quartz movement that Seiko makes. Stainless steel case, sapphire crystal, anti-reflective coating on the inner surface of the crystal. You guys can see the clasp over here, or the bracelet. I obviously have this on an aftermarket leather right now, so I don't scratch up the bracelet at all. But the accuracy is to plus or minus 10 seconds per year. So we'll kind of get into a little bit of Seiko's 9F movement and what makes it so cool. It's magnetic resistant to 60 Gauss, weighs 134 grams, and the diameter is 37 millimeters with a thickness of 10 millimeters. And the lug design is kind of weird. It's a 19 millimeter lug width. So I actually have it on a 20 millimeter strap right now. That's actually kind of small, so it fits perfectly. But
you were lied to.
Yeah, right. And it is cool that it does have the drilled lugs, although I would imagine most people that are going to buy this piece are never going to take it off the bracelet.
Probably not.
So
probably not.
But yeah, guys, so the 9F quartz caliber is extremely accurate. It's plus or minus 10 seconds, like I said, per year, but a lot of people measure like 1 second a year, or maybe even plus or minus 0 seconds, especially when you factor in daylight savings time. It's supposed to be, or supposedly, one of the finest quartz movements in the world. The twin pulse control motor allows the use of the long and wide hands, which Grand Seiko is pretty famous for.
Yeah, and you find these on a lot of their automatic watches, and it's only with the dawn of the NF that you see it on a quartz-based movement, which is very cool. It's only because the hands weigh so darn much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And this was only available with mechanical movements. This is known as a high torque. That's why they can have those massive hands in that ticking hand. And there's an anti-backlash mechanism so that every single tick is perfect on the marker and doesn't have that little bit of a rebound like some others do. It's called the backlash auto adjust mechanism. So there's no shuddering. So the instant date change mechanism changes the date in 1/2000th of a second, which is pretty cool.
Can we actually illustrate that?
Yeah, I guess so. You just kind of go ahead. Let's see.
So there's a first position.
Yeah.
And then it's obvious in the second now.
Yeah, you can just go ahead and wind it however you
Sure,
want.
and you can keep going.
Yeah, guys, so the super sealed cabin prevents dust from entering the movement when the battery is changed, and this prolongs the life of the lubricating oils to ensure smooth operation of the gear train. And I believe the actual, obviously you have to change the battery every several years, but...
Is this it?
I hope so. Maybe not.
No! Oh no, it did it!
It did it. I think it does it at like 12:05 sometimes for some weird reason.
Okay, but
I've heard Grand Seikos do this.
Doesn't have a split second though.
Yeah, but overhauls. I think you can go between overhauls of the quartz movement. I think it's guaranteed for 50 years due to that super sealed cabin.
That's insane,
isn't it? Right? Yeah. So that's pretty much the quartz movement in a nutshell.
This
and I know
calling it a shitter.
No, in Seiko Grand Seiko they actually grow the quartz crystals, right? And they only pick the best crystals from those to put in their Grand Seiko movements. So everything is done completely
in-house. What do they do with the crystals that they don't like?
Feed them to starving children.
what happens to the crystals they don't like? Guys, let us know if you know. That's a real concern, and we should raise a fund.
They sell them to Swiss brands.
Exactly. Right. Omega's like,
okay, we'll take.
Is Rolex interested in making a quartz watch again? We've got some crystals you can use.
So I mean, okay. So we rattled off all the stats.
It's almost similar to your Explorer. So you must love it.
A little bit. Yeah, right. Definitely.
So I already know Adam's opinion. Why don't you give it?
So I am not a Grand Seiko hater at all. I love Grand Seiko. I have a vintage high beat Grand Seiko from 1968 that I love and I'm still holding on to, which keeps amazing time once I got it overhauled as well. So I've owned a lot of different Seikos. I've had like Sumos and I've had Alpinist and all these. I don't own any of those anymore. But I picked this up because I really wanted to just see how the 9F was, you know? So I got it for a good price. I have to say I was pretty disappointed with this model in particular. Okay, a lot of the Grand Seikos, like if you were to go to a Grand Seiko boutique, the finishing, the combination of brushing and polishing on the case design of most Grand Seikos is absolutely stunning in person. And the Grand Seiko that you have, Pat, is I haven't seen it in person, but that's what I expect. It's gonna be so cool the way it plays with the light. It's gonna be amazing.
It's on par.
Yeah, this one, I hate to say, it just doesn't feel like a Grand Seiko. Now, don't get me wrong. The sword hands, the markers. The dial in person is pretty gorgeous, but it's also rather plain.
The white of the dial itself is rather bland.
Yeah.
But the inlaid, Grand Seiko logo down at the bottom is done very, very well, very tastefully. And actually the Seiko, if you can tell, I'm sorry that the light's catching right there, the Seiko logo is actually set up on stilts, so it's elevated off of the dial face. And it's hard only because we don't have a close focusing B cam for you to tell, but it is elevated, and you actually tell right there. It's elevated ever so slightly off the dial, so it adds some dimensionality to what would be a very bland dial. So there's a little bit of character there.
A little bit, but overall, I think what kind of disappointed me was the case. I mean, yes, it's all polished, but there's no really cool contrast between serious brushed surfaces and polished.
No,
it's kind of just curved and round. It sort of reminds me of sort of like a, not to call Rolex boring, but like a vintage like Datejust. The edges of a vintage Datejust are pretty bland and pretty boring. And that's what I kind of get the oyster case vibe here.
I get the oyster case vibe too. If not
but it's not
for
a Rolex.
These extensions here, this little metal bridge from lug to lug, it would remove those. It would look a whole lot like just a like an oyster case.
And no
It's
knock on the
really
oyster case. I'm rocking my subby right now, but
yeah.
you know, I hate to say that I was disappointed, and I would. You know what else I would hate? A lot of people don't get to see Grand Seikos in person.
No.
And people hear the hype, and I would hate for someone to see that and be like, wow, this is it?
Or pick this up and,
You know?
and only have an impression off of this watch. And I understand.
You know?
So guys, I own a SBGR 093, I believe is the model number. I haven't thought about it in a while. I just enjoy the watch. I'll put up a picture. I'll put up a picture for you guys. It's a phenomenal watch. It is the highest grade of finish, the highest grade of movement I've ever seen done in a watch. And it's by far one of the most remarkable timepieces I've ever had an opportunity to own, but also just seen. And it's a shame that Adam hasn't seen it. The following video you guys will see will be on my Grand Seiko, so no worries, you're going to see it in a second. But no, it's a marvelous watch, and it's a lifer as we call it. So Adam has his Explorer, and I'm definitely keeping that Grand Seiko. The name, the legacy, the hype is true. This watch,
But
it's I can see where you feel it's underwhelming. It's a very bland dial. The minute track, it's just they're just simple black markers. They could have even put a little metal baton there where that black marker is next to the date window. That's my recommendation, but they didn't.
Too.
The crown is very small. The Grand Seiko logo is etched in there nicely.
Yeah,
it's a
nice.
crown.
That's nice.
It's a very small crown, but it is rather hard to grip onto. Like when I give you that demonstration earlier, they could have contoured the case just around it a little bit so that you could grab it easier. Now, I guess it doesn't matter so much because it's quartz. You're only going to have to set it so often. But with that date window, you are going to have to adjust the date quite often. So it would have been nice if it was more accessible. The lug width is irregular.
Yeah, 19 millimeters is just very odd.
If you like, customizing or changing your strap options, you have a holes case, but then you don't have a universal lug width. And now I consider universal 18 or 20, not necessarily an odd number like 19. Although that is common too. I look at my strap collection, I have 20s and 18s everywhere.
Yeah.
And again, 20, you could wedge it in there if
Yeah.
you really had to. So that's there. I think the brushing is really nice. There's really fine brushing on top of the lugs. But that's about where it ends. This case isn't, and I'll make this argument for the Grand Seiko here, it isn't meant to be a showstopper. I think this particular piece is meant to do simply what it was designed to do, is tell the time. And it does it very, very admirably with a great movement, very high-grade quartz movement that you can only really get from Seiko. There's the Citizen, what are they called? Citizen ProMaster, Citizen.
I don't know how.
Chronomaster.
They have their high accuracy quartz as well.
Yeah. And I'll throw an image of that as well. And that's touted as one of the most accurate quartz movements, accurate watch in the world. And that's why you buy high-end quartz, guys, by the way. You're buying it for the accuracy and the reliability. So It's a very dependable watch. And what's nice is, this is a very typical screw-in case back. If you had the tool, you could do it yourself. I would not recommend changing the batteries on this unless you're very confident or you're a repairman, because it could, alter, it will definitely alter your warranty, and it will have an effect on the watch if you do it poorly.
Yeah, and the sealed cabin, who knows? I don't want to be messing with that.
Yeah, however, I have to say, just upon further inspection, I do like the aesthetic. It's admirable, but I have to say, this is very SKX-like. The side of this case here, it's polished on the sides, and then there's another edge of polish before it hits those brushed lugs, and it's just a very smooth transition that reminds me of the sides of the SKX. I hate to say it, but if you guys are familiar, maybe I'll drop an image right next to this of the SKX lugs, but it's very similar to that. And Adam first got it, he likened it to a Seiko 5.
Now, God, let's not go there.
Where I don't feel it's and Seiko 5s are great. Now, I don't think it's a cheap watch by any means. I think you're really paying for the sapphire crystal, the high grade quartz movement, and a case design that's very, very universally appealing. Now, guys, look at this. It's a good looking watch. But again, for the price, it's hard to justify It is hard to justify. I can see that because you own a lot of really great luxury pieces, and this fits into that luxury price bracket. The low end luxury, and when you're spending over $1,000, guys, I think that's a luxury.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why don't you like it? Because you haven't worn it much.
So it was so much. I was expecting so much. I think.
Yeah.
I hate to sound like a bitter snob or something, but I'm not really a snob because I love Grand Seiko.
Yeah.
And the thing is I've seen snowflakes. I've seen the
oh my gosh, the spring drive with snowflake dial.
Yeah, and I mean that's gorgeous.
That's a different
the brushing and
yeah.
the polishing and the brushing on that case on that titanium is gorgeous, right? I mean that blows this out of the water. So it's not a knock on Grand Seiko, and also I mean there's some other cool models like the GMT with the sapphire bezel. That's another gorgeous watch with that rotating bezel. But if you're considering getting a Grand Seiko, make sure that you get one. Make sure that you see it in person first, and make sure that you're going for one that has that kind of signature, incredible finishing that Seiko's famous for. Get it in a watch that can showcase that finishing, because this is not a watch that really kind of brings out the best in Grand Seiko, I think, besides the movement.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. I love the SBGX059, and that's the one I was referring to a second ago. That is a beautiful, highly anti-magnetic NF quartz Grand Seiko, and it looks beautiful. And again, you guys are going to see an image of it in a second. It's a marvelous watch, and I've seen those in person, and it does not let down. And the bracelet's amazing. The bracelet on this guy, it's light. Adam had it on the bracelet at first. Your opinions?
It's way too small. I didn't bother getting it fitted. I can't even fit it on my wrist. It's so small.
Oh, you don't have.
I have the extra links, but I just didn't bother if I don't have the right screwdriver.
Oh, are these
lengths for it?
Oh,
they are, but it's like a weird. There's a weird.
I see. That stinks because the diameter of these holes for the screw and links are really, really small. I don't even know if I have a tool for it.
Yeah, and I have like a full kit of screwdrivers.
Wow.
And none of them worked. So, and I couldn't even slip it on my wrist because the links are so. I think it's sized for like a 6.5 inch wrist or something.
These are really nice, like oyster style links. I think this is a great looking bracelet. It's a very traditional classic looking bracelet, and then you have solid end links. So. That's nice.
It's a good bracelet.
Yeah.
And just so you guys can see, here is the watch. I'll kind of get away from the camera a little bit. This is the 37 millimeter diameter on my 7.25 inch wrist. So for a dress watch, I think this is perfect size, like 37. Anywhere from 35 to 37 for a true dress watch, in my opinion, is perfection.
Yeah, and even just then, it looked a little bit bigger on camera than it actually is.
Yeah, exactly.
So don't get the impression that it's a large watch by any stretch of the imagination. It's actually a very, very reasonably sized dress watch.
Yeah, I'll
say for a dress watch, you probably couldn't go wrong. I could definitely see myself spending that much money. If I needed a casual dress watch, that's a good buy. For me, I think a dress watch, it's perfectly acceptable if it's quartz, because I don't want to think. That's the one watch I don't want to have to think about that often, because I'm not wearing it as often. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but since you're not wearing it as often, like in my case, I have a Nomos Orion, and I would pick that every single time over this. Since I don't wear it that often, it actually is kind of nice before going to this formal occasion to sit down and wind it up. You know what I mean? And so, I don't know. It's.
Can you so Grand Seiko quartz? Can you justify it in this instance? Can you justify a Grand Seiko quartz?
No. And for the price that I got it for, honestly, I mean it's super subjective, right?
Yeah.
I'm glad I got to experience it. And the other thing too is like, you can talk about how all the amazing technology that goes into this quartz movement, right? You can't see the quartz movement. All you see is the ticking seconds, right?
Yeah.
And for me, it's like that's exactly how a Timex looks, So even though I know the movement in that is leaps and bounds beyond, and like the best quartz money can buy, really.
Yeah.
the accuracy doesn't justify the price, in my opinion, because that's really what you're paying for with the high accuracy quartz. The price, the premium, right? Is you're trying. I mean,
accurate timekeeping,
right? And then obviously the what's it called? The high torque system and the ability to move bigger hands and stuff. But like, you're paying for a really accurate watch, and you can get a really accurate quartz watch for less than $200.
So you can buy vintage. Like I have an Omega F300, and it has a sweeping seconds hand. It's quartz based, and it's extremely accurate, and you can regulate those to extreme accuracy as well.
So I appreciate the technology, but after kind of experiencing it, it doesn't have the same soul as some of my other pieces do. Like, for example, I'll pull up my Speedmaster right next to this. I wind this thing every single morning, you know?
This is strictly hand wound, correct?
It's a manual wind, 861 caliber Omega movement, and if every morning it feels like I'm breathing life into this thing, you know what I mean? So you feel more connected to this, or with an automatic, you know, the movement of your wrist, you also kind of feel like you're breathing life into it.
Okay.
But I don't know. There's something about the quartz that now that I actually have kind of owned a high accuracy quartz watch, I'm just kind of like
disenchanted,
like, whatever, you know.
Okay.
I respect it. I respect it completely, and I respect why someone would want to buy that. Because they want to set it, they don't want to ever worry about it, they don't have to worry about winding it or doing anything.
That's even a topic for another video, though.
Exactly.
Quartz versus automatic. And we have never touched on that on the show, and that we've only had so many quartz pieces on the show.
Yeah.
And, you know, like my Belova is a quartz base.
Yeah.
Sweeping seconds hand.
Right.
And, you know,
high accuracy quartz as well.
And people think of the life of the watch being in the sweep, but you noted something that was important. It was in the winding. You know? It's your interaction with the watch. And I can see where this plain white dial and its little to no interaction with the individual, and it feels very mechanical, you know, and not in the sense that it is mechanical. It just feels like a machine, whereas opposed to something like that moon watch, you know, his character. Yeah. It feels like a companion, where this feels like just a machine. It's a very, very cold feeling. So the aesthetic doesn't lend anything to the charm of this watch, or lack thereof.
It's a lose-lose, really, you know?
It's unfortunate.
For me.
And there's no, and for you at least.
For me personally, right? Like I said, I completely respect if someone wants to buy a, like, maybe even the Grand Seiko Quartz Diver or something like that, you know? That's a true purpose-built tool. Or the carbon that you have is also quartz, right?
But it's even also my carbon, I feel like I enjoy my interaction with the carbon. It's me and the environment, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas
but, exactly, because that gives you that sense of, like, it's an adventure watch, so it gives you a little bit, it takes you out of your element a little bit, whereas this is kind of like a dull dress piece that's a quartz. Yeah. In my opinion, a dress piece needs to be honestly manual wind. Like, for me, a true dress watch is a beautiful manual wind watch.
And from that perspective, I can see. Yeah.
So
I can see where the Orion.
That's probably why. That's probably why I feel the way I feel about this. So kind of long-winded, guys, but giving you my honest impressions and thoughts.
But again, guys, don't take our opinions too seriously. You know, we all have different and varying opinions on watches. As Adam said earlier, we definitely encourage you to go to a Seiko boutique and try on these Grand Seikos. This watch isn't for Adam nor myself. I don't think I'd find myself enjoying this as much as my automatic Grand Seiko, but there's a different story there. This piece is wonderful. There's no denying the significance of that movement, but just isn't for us.
You know what a perfect example is? I love the Tuna. And the Tuna's a quartz. And I think that's an awesome watch, and I would recommend if someone wanted to buy it, I would say go for it. You know, because it feels like a purpose-built tool. Yeah. This is just kind of like a dress watch with some new technology, essentially. Yeah. You know, so
guys,
that's that.
If you like Grand Seiko, like this video. If you like this video, like this video. If you disliked it, that's okay too. If you want to see more content like this, feel free to hit that subscribe button. That's why it's there. 2 episodes a week, so be looking forward to that. At any rate, guys, thank you for joining us. And again, always leave commentary down below. We'd love to hear your opinions. If there's something you liked, you disliked, you want us to change, we listen, and we're going to try to accommodate you in those regards. At any rate, thank you for watching again, and we'll see you later.
Bye, guys.